So I see this year as being much more of a active and expansive year. A lot of the energy of expansion that we felt this year that was so chaotic and perhaps troubling to some of us is going to clear out and become more resonant. And we're going to start to really see results of the things that we want to do. So this is going to be a great year for any of you to really start and really put things in place, the new things you want. Take some time, really dream big, get clear on what those dreams are, and then don't hesitate to get going and actually do this stuff, because this is the year where like everything's in place for you to succeed. A big theme of last year was this idea of expansion, but it's really the seeds of expansion. So we had a year of these expansive energies sort of taking hold, and a lot of clearing out of old things to make way for the expansion. So it was a very challenging year, I think, for all of us, because that clearing out of things really is always a sort of tumultuous and chaotic time, especially energetically. And for those of us who are more sensitive to these things, it certainly can throw us for a loop. And so I know in my own personal life, um, and in sort of the broader consciousness of the world, we saw a lot of that chaos. And so it was really up and down kind of year, an interesting year, because it felt very energetic. It felt like this potential of new things was there, and I think we were all really clamoring for that. But the old things needed to clear out, and that was a lot of the themes in last year's reading. I remember a lot of the themes for the early beginning of 2025 in the reading were about not sort of getting ahead of ourselves. In other words, taking time to really rest and get clear on our vision for the things that we wanted, and not just sort of jumping into the new year ready to go. And that's such a powerful message, I think, for all of us. It's so easy to get sucked into that at the beginning of the new year. We get all this pressure. You can't, anywhere you go this time of year, you've got the people pressuring you. You need to get this gym membership, you need to get this new thing. What are your plans for the new year? What are your resolutions? We make all these goals, sort of all willy-nilly, without really reflecting on them, and they just become things that we should do that we didn't do. And then all these sort of defeatism, the shame of that comes in, and that's why we end up making these resolutions every year, and they often fail, and we just make them again and again. Speaking of my own life, and it's a common one for a lot of us. For me, quitting smoking was one of those big ones. And it was only when I really sort of cleared out a lot of old beliefs and feelings and attitudes, that I was able to successfully quit smoking a few years ago, after being a heavy smoker for most of my adult life. So I always use that as an example, but I had to clear out all this sort of old, useless stuff. And I've seen a number of posts lately, and I'm not well versed in sort of Chinese astrology, but I'm pretty sure last year was this year that's just ending now is the year of the snake. So that goes along with that theme. The snake sort of sheds its skin every so often, leaves this old thing behind so that it can grow anew and grow larger and expand. So I think that was a really powerful theme. And this year we're moving into, I believe it's the year of the horse. And I've seen some posts that say it's the fire horse. So this is a very active and sort of forward moving energy in our lives. So that's really exciting for us. And I'm hoping we're going to get some real strong themes of that in the reading. But I expect this year that, before we even pull any cards, I do expect this year that we will really see that expansion and the foundations of that expansion start to really take hold. And so this is a year where I think we are feeling that push for new things and greater things in our lives, and yet we weren't quite in a place to really, I think we started making it happen, but the results haven't quite shown up. And please leave some comments of your own as we go through this reading, and let me know whether it clicks with you. If you watched last year's reading, I would love to hear from you as well. what resonated with you, what didn't. Was I completely off? Maybe I was. But for me personally, I felt like last year's reading really did sync up. So to sort of signify our question, what does the year have in store for us? We will pull out a couple of major cards to signify that question and some of the energy around that. And I think for the year, we like to go with the Wheel of Fortune, that whole sort of clock feel to it. And I think we need some of that inner wisdom. So, where is our High Priestess? There she is. There we go. She is the keeper of the hidden knowledge. And so, with these two here, we have our question to Spirit. What does the year 2026 have in store for us? How should we approach things? Also, how will I fit all these cards on my desk? Okay. All right, let's begin. Make some room here. So for this, like we did last year, we do 12 cards. Ooh. And we begin this month, January. The month of January brings us the Ace of Wands. I will call out the cards as we go, and then I will really sort of read the whole thing. But we are starting with Ace of Wands in January. And moving into February, we have Two of Swords. And the Three of Cups. Well, that's a wonderful progression of like 1, 2, 3. A little bit like last year's reading, if I remember correctly. So we move into spring, we have Queen of Wands. The Nine of Wands, a lot of wands, a lot of being and doing in this. And Knight of Swords here. And just like before, we are going to run out of room. Okay. As we move into the summer, this would be our June card, I believe. January, February, March, April. January, February, March, April, May, June. So this will be our July card. So July. Okay. This kind of turns into a mess when we do this. So we have King of Wands, the Page of Swords as we're moving through the summer. And as we begin the fall, not truly the fall, we have Queen of Cups. We'll just do it this way. Temperance. Ooh, that's our first major in the whole thing. Okay. Two majors, Temperance and the Chariot. Ooh, so we're ending the year with some big transformations, some breakthroughs here. Well, this is exciting. I'll try to spread these out a little better. Okay. Well, there's a lot going on here. So, okay. So, for 2026, January brings us like this whole new start. Now, this is a lot of what I was already sort of talking about and feeling here. So this is spot on, actually. Maybe one day I just won't use the cards at all. But I do like my tarot cards. So, Ace of Wands here. This is the universe handing you the new thing. It is the real kickoff here of your new endeavors. So as we went through this past year of 2025, as I said, we were shedding a lot of old things, sort of preparing the ground, laying a foundation to really expand and build new things. And it may have felt stagnant, and it may have also felt chaotic in a way. A lot of things that didn't feel right were sort of clearing out. And we felt, we had to feel our way through those things to get rid of them. But now we have this fertile ground, this firm foundation. And so we're really ready to kick things off. So in January, this is really about taking time and getting really inspired and really dreaming big. I think that's a huge theme here in the Ace of Wands. Do not limit your aspirations for the year. We set, like I was saying in the beginning, we set these New Year's resolutions, and they're always like these things that we feel like we should do, but they're never really like fun, or they're always difficult things to do that we've failed at or just put off. And I think those sorts of resolutions, while they're probably things that are important to do, they are a bit small-minded. I think the call here is to really look at, like, craft a real vision for yourself. Not just like, I'm going to quit smoking or lose this 20 pounds, but like, I'm going to love the way I look, or I'm going to live a healthier life. And really think of this in big terms, and then think about all the things that can entail. I think that's much more effective than like these specific goal-oriented resolutions. And for wands, especially the suit of wands, a lot of this is going to be in your area of career and profession and all the things that you endeavor to do in life that are work, but not just like senseless drudgery. They're the things that really you do with purpose. So that can involve other things as well, not just like a paying career or a job, but civic involvement, other things that, again, you put a lot of time and effort into to grow and build. And so that's how we're kicking off this year in January. And then the Two of Swords in February is very interesting. The calm water in the image here behind this woman holding the two swords suggests that a lot of the chaotic emotion, even if it's like exciting and passionate emotion, will even out a bit. And not in a bad way, not in a way that things are going to turn like sad or feel down, but things are going to even out. I think we're going to get a sense of some peace and clarity as we've begun this new year and begun doing these great things and really dared to dream big. And so this speaks back to that, again, that piece of sort of dreaming big, but also sort of having some blinders, not getting too wrapped up in what everyone else is saying, not getting too lost in things like social media or the media in general, but really, to me, in this context, the message I get is to really stay focused on that vision that you crafted in January and be really resolute about that. So February is a month of maybe putting some practices in place to cut out some of that noise. More meditation, more time off from screens, things like that. Because the warning here is that if you get too wrapped up in those things, it will throw you off track. And that's certainly a lot of that happened for me last year. I began the year with a very strong vision and plan for everything. And very quickly, I sort of got led around a bit with some different things, and sort of pulled me away from my original intentions for the year. So that's a great start, and that's a wonderful card for February. And in March, as things start to warm up, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is the time to start sharing your vision with others. This is the time to start talking to people who are aligned with this, and really starting to get the word out about what you're doing and not being shy about that and being very authentic about it. And it may require you, people will be interested in this and they'll be interested in supporting you, but it will require you to perhaps educate them a bit about what you're really up to, the thing that you're involved in. So there's a lot of that in March. And that really is like the planting of seeds and the growth of the community around you, the support that you need to go on this new endeavor, whether it's changing career, launching a new business, or even taking up some new big hobby in your life, like a meaningful one. You are going to need to pull other people in. And so as you get the word out and as you go through March and then into April, we have Queen of Wands. This is a call to really be that leader in what you're doing. Even if your projects and your year is a lot of individual effort, again, there's support around that. So again, if you're not really working with people directly in this thing, you are working with people in your life. Your family, your friends, those around you have input and have an impact on the outcome of your efforts. And so the Queen of Wands is an even more profound reminder that you need to speak from the heart, you need to speak from intuition, and very authentically. So the previous month of March is a little more intellectual. It's a little more about sharing sort of intellectual knowledge. But Queen of Wands is much more about leadership and influence. And another big component of that is making sure that that intuition, that sort of spirit and heart-led guidance is really working its way into the practical things that you're doing. It's a very important call to unify both the logical parts of yourself and the intuitive and sort of feeling and spiritual parts of yourself. It's a very tricky thing for all of us to do. Many of us are just sort of one or the other. We're just generally more logical or we're more intuitive. Some of us are very strong with both, but we struggle to put them together. So on any given day, I can be, and this is very much myself, I can be very spiritual. I can just go and sit in the woods all day and meditate and be very happy with that. And have profound insights about what I'm doing, what other people are doing, my life, the universe as a whole. And there are days where I can get very fixated on some technology, building a website, fixing my car, whatever it is, very detailed, very logical type stuff. But often what I find is that logic really gets drowned out. So I can do one or the other. It's very hard for my intuitive self to be the inspiration of what I am doing in a more practical and logical sense. So that's a very important reminder, is like, keep those things unified. And if you need help with that and you struggle with that, we all do, certainly look for help, reach out to others, look for guidance. So you may have some struggles with that in April. And as we move into May, as we sort of get right to the beginning of summer, May, we've got Mother's Day and the end of school for a lot of folks, or almost the end of school if it's public school. Well, college kids will be getting out then, graduations and things. Now, there's a big theme in May of sort of looking back at past accomplishments. So we look at the Nine of Wands. Again, wands are about careers, endeavors, things you do with purpose. And this person is really looking back at all the things that they've already put behind. And maybe with a little bit of uncertainty, as if to say, did I really do these things? Here I am moving forward and I'm having this uncertainty because I've lost sight of the fact of everything I've already achieved. And so I think the previous month sort of having a little bit of that conflict and struggle with the balancing of intellect and intuition is going to lead you to some advice here. And in May, it's going to be a lot of sort of looking back and taking stock of your accomplishments, not just to this point in the year, but in years past. and knowing that you've already done a lot, that you already have a lot of capability. And those things do matter. They do count. Even if you haven't seen all the results of them the way you've wanted so far, they're there. Those are your strengths. You've done this work. And so look to that as some encouragement if you're struggling with the intuition and logical pieces. And take some time here in May. Take some time to reminisce, think about your past, unite with family if you have, in situations where those are positive relationships, obviously. And if they aren't, and if you're in a situation where maybe you've distanced yourself from some family because they're perhaps toxic in some way, take stock of the strength that you've had in doing that. It's very difficult to cut off toxic people in our lives. And so if that's a lot of your sort of family relationships, then really know that you are a strong person for doing that, and feel empowered for having done that. But definitely take stock of your life here in May. Moving on into June, we have Knight of Swords. June happens to be me and Candy's birthday. We're born on the same day. So Knight of Swords is like information and influence showing up in a big way, in a tumultuous and sort of galloping way. We have the horse, right? Some new information, some new influence is going to show up in your life. Now, it might be someone that you've already known, but maybe haven't been in contact with. It might be just new knowledge or some new learning or education, but some information is going to influence your life in June, and it's going to mix things up a bit. So this is the kind of thing where it can feel very chaotic. The things that you learn, the things you hear about here in this instance, at first may seem like not good things or things that you don't want to know or hear. It may not seem like good news at first. But know that there is a strength in it. Don't avoid these facts. Don't avoid these influences. Make sure you engage with them. And I think there's a strong chance that whatever this influence is, it does show up as a person. There's a specific person who's going to show up with this. It's not like you're just going to read something on the internet, but you're going to hear directly from someone, either new or someone in your past, from your past, that's going to deliver this new information, and it's going to steer your path for the year in a different way. So be prepared for that. And again, stay in touch with intuition going into the summer here, because a lot of the things that you started here in January and February, this is when they're going to start springing up. And so that's part of that sort of chaotic bit of the night, galloping in, making a mess, sort of showing up unannounced. We do have a lot of court cards here this year. And often these are various people in our lives. So moving on, as we move into the bulk of the summer, the dog days of summer in July, we see King of Wands. So this is the resolution of the night. That influence is going to steer you in a slightly different direction. Not a major life complete change of course from where you started this year, but you're going to need to alter course a little bit, keep the ship going where you need it to go. And so that new influence and information, if you deal with it correctly and you don't run away from it, is going to result in this very strong, the Knight of Wands energy. You're going to create an even greater order and power in the things that you're building this year. And you're going to feel more accomplished and more in control, even though the month previous may have, again, felt very tumultuous. As the summer ends, we will see a renewed feeling about this. We have you stepping into this kingdom, this leadership. And born from that, essentially the heir, to all of this is you will see sort of the next phase and the next results, the next sort of bigger scale of this thing starting to emerge. You're going to get that first bit of it, and it'll be fragile. So I would expect some big leap of growth here in July. And like all expansion, there will be growing pains with that. And so the page here is this youthful energy. And again, it can be unstable. And it calls for you to nurture this thing. Again, don't give in to frustration, but really be very nurturing. And when we look forward into the month past it, into September, or sorry, yeah, into September, I probably got some of the months a little bit mixed up. I apologize. But as we conclude the summer and we're looking into fall, into harvest time, the Queen of Cups here also goes with that page. So this is that nurturing energy, that motherly spirit that you need to bring to this. And whatever the new thing that emerging is from, it will be a bit fragile. And so you have to just very gently and kindly mother that. So that really wraps up our summer, and we're really moving into the fall. And did I miss a card? I feel like I missed a card. No, we have 12. So that's going to be like our September energy. Totally makes sense with the fall coming. And as we wrap up our year, as we head into the harvest, now we really see these gains. We see this profound transformation. And it's such a great way to go into the winter, into the holidays. Things always feel like they slow down, they get kind of logy, especially if you live in a latitude where days get shorter, like I do. That kind of lack of sunshine kind of things. But as we head into fall, we see this profound transformation. You've already done so much, and now you're reaping the harvest of that. And you're really feeling like you have this great momentum going into October and November. And especially if you're in a business or your endeavors are more seasonal in nature, where holidays can be a big sort of time for sales and sort of reaping prosperity, then you're going to be rolling into it. And it's going to be great because you'll be heading into holidays and what it can be a very chaotic time with a lot of stuff in place. So you can really, this is going to be a year and a winter where you can actually really relax a bit and really enjoy it, because all of the hard work that you've done this year is really taking care of itself. And you are sort of transcending from being the person who has to have their hands on every little thing in your life to make it work and happen, into being a greater master of things where you just point, you just make decisions, and a lot of it takes care of itself. And that's what temperance and the chariot is. It's that transformation in the fall. And then the 8 of Wands just underscores that in December. So all of the results of all of these efforts are on their way to you, and they will continue to show up. And they will roll over into hopefully the year 2027 as well, when we will draw next year's cards. So I see this year as being much more of a active and expansive year. A lot of the energy of expansion that we felt this year that was so chaotic and perhaps troubling to some of us is going to clear out and become more resonant. And we're going to start to really see results of the things that we want to do. So this is going to be a great year for any of you to really start and really put things in place, the new things you want. Take some time, really dream big, get clear on what those dreams are, and then don't hesitate to get going and actually do this stuff, because this is the year where like everything's in place for you to succeed. I think you're going to find that it's just a much more enjoyable and prosperous year, perhaps, than a lot of us experienced in 2025. So that concludes the 2026 year ahead reading.